Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another. What's a good adjective for today? Another uh, infamous,
Lovely.
lovely.
Infamous.
He's infamous. El Guapo. You're the three amigos. Welcome to back to
Oh
another
my
infamous
God.
and lovely episode of the best darn show on the internet, the Over Sharon Show. Today we're doing another Tao episode. We're continuing that, so we're very excited about that. But before we get started, I have a quote. And
And I have a song.
yes. Oh, should we start the song first?
Someday
Someday,
when
and
I'm awfully low and the
the
world is
world is full
cold, I will feel a glow
of
just thinking
knowing,
of you and
and
the
the
way
way
you look
look.
tonight.
I can't whistle.
Maybe next time maybe we'll always start with a little song. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
and
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll look up the words, even though I hear the song once or twice a week for like the last 25 years. No, I've been here for 14 years. It's all right though. Someday. All right. So someday today, our quote is in this quote, we couldn't remember exactly how we came across it. We think Joe or was it Nick that
I
sent it?
think Nick maybe sent it to us.
And then I looked up, and apparently this quote has been falsely attributed to Nelson Mandela. So maybe that's what the
The
Mandela.
Mandelu.
There's another Mandela effect out there. But according to the internet and what I found, this quote is by Mohammed Salah, and it is: "Our world is not divided by race, color, gender, or religion. The world is divided into wise people and fools. And fools divide themselves by race, color, gender, or religion." I, I
Ain't
don't
that
know
the
what to say
case?
about this quote. I mean, it's amazing. It pretty much says it all itself. It's very simple. There's nothing esoteric about this quote, really, right? They have to try to break down. I like it. It's right in plain English. And I'm wondering how it pertains to the verses today because I just chose it out of nowhere because it was such a good quote. I wanted to just get it out there. So I haven't looked at
Yeah,
it
yeah.
at a time, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Well, this is
Synchronistically
talking of,
pertains, but go ahead.
I was gonna say this talks about division and people dividing themselves, and we talk about that a lot on the show. And I think the Tao is probably one that promotes seeing others as you see yourself and a unity of being and connectedness that we all have. So it could be related anyway. We'll see.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure in some way it's related, but the reason I said that is just because the synchronicities have been pretty crazy lately. I mean, even down to fun synchronicity that happened Saturday night. I was DJing a wedding, and it was in this little like barn uh, place. It's like a farm, but it's a redone. It's not a real barn or whatever. It's really nice, but it's smaller. So the people were dancing at some point in the night and they had a circle and had a bottle they were spinning, like spin the bottle, and when it landed on somebody, you had to dance. So people were doing like funky, crazy dances, and I think we were playing "Gimme, Gimme, Gimme."
Play that funky music,
We
white
played that, and I'm
boy.
always like, "That's me. Play that funky music, white boy." That's Dwayne started that one by he would be like, "That's because Dwayne, he's Bayesian, so he's got a little tan. So when we'd be together, he'd be like, 'That's Brandon.'" But so they're doing their fun little dance circle, and I was like, "Oh," I said to the guys working with, I'm like, "We should play Tricky by Run DMC. Be perfect for continuing because the song we were playing was running out." So he started to mix it, and as the song was coming in, the bottles of a spin in it landed on this old guy. He's like this old bald guy, and the Tricky song came in right when it landed on him. And he just started doing all these dance moves. It was. I wish I was videotaping it. It was hilarious. But the synchronicity was crazy that it would land right on him as the song was coming in, and then he just like everybody went crazy because the guy was probably in his 80s. He was just like,
What song was it?
Tricky by Run DMC.
Oh, okay. I
It's
don't know.
tricky, rock around. That's right on time. It's tricky. What?
I don't know
Tricky,
that one.
tricky, tricky. Huh. It's been in a bunch of movies too. So yeah, I'd play it, but run, YouTube.
Yeah,
I'd be all upset.
yeah, because you can't even like do a clip of anything these days.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Ridiculous. So I pulled a card from the I Ching, and I may not be doing traditional pulls of this. I'm just pulling a card because we usually pull a card. So maybe one day I will learn how to actually pull I Ching, and then maybe we can do that.
It's
But
accidentally perfect how we do it.
I concur. I concur. But this is the back of the card always.
Ooh,
This is what it
I'll
looks like. And I pulled the number 9, which is called Small Influences, Wind Above, Sky Below. And I don't know.
I have you pinned on there, so should be you, all you.
Yeah. Anyway, this art is very abstract, if we could say. Um, just looks like a lot of little blobs of color. But I will read what it says and we'll see how relevant it is. Maybe someone in the listening audience will get something from this reading today. I know that 9 is one of my numbers, and in the tarot, it is the Hermit
Mhm.
card, which I do resonate with that card. Anyway, here we go. Called Small Influences, Wind Above, Sky Below. A gentle wind gathers clouds, but still there is no rain. Softer influences predominate as the power of smaller forces accumulates, making this a time for smooth and friendly persuasion. The ebb and flow of events are like waves in the sea, and there are periods of low tide. At present, more sweeping actions are impossible or inappropriate, but small matters ultimately lead to bigger and better things when attended to with success. When the tide is rolling in, by all means, ride the waves. When they are receding, like they are now, however, focus on the little things. When you cannot do much to affect large matters, persuasion and subtle influence prepare the way for stronger moves in the future. Use your intuition to chart your long-term course. But avoid bold actions. They are unlikely to work. This is a better time to refine existing abilities or develop new talents. Gentleness is the key word here. Regarding whatever is on your mind right now, gentleness, combined with determination, is likely to generate more progress than brute force ever could. And brute force is something I don't resonate with brute force these days, you know? I
Yeah, it
like to,
reminds me. I think we talked about this last week on your glorious return episode where we talked about effort versus feeling. It reminds me of that a lot, and I've really been trying to focus on that and work on it. And I actually even came up with this idea of how to approach open mics now instead of just working on all these jokes and preparing them ahead of time and then working on them more at the open mic. I think I'm going to just go up there with ideas and just be in the moment and feel it and just flow and maybe just go with the crowd or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to say too much, but that's really been inspiring me and in my life too. When I'm just trying, I mean, it's been a hectic, last 2, 3 weeks. It's been really crazy. A lot of things going on. I mean, Elizabeth had a death in her family. Sharon, you had that craziness that was going on with your family. And, yeah, it's been crazy. So
yeah.
I think that that's what it is. Maybe now more than ever with this shift, if people are putting in effort, it's just not working out the way that it used to. It's more about just feeling that it's going to be great. And I used that principle yesterday because it was Father's Day yesterday. We were recording this, everybody, on Monday. We're letting you in behind the scenes. So it was Father's Day yesterday. Shout out to all the fathers, by the way, out there. And so we were going down to see my father and my parents, actually, and my brother. And then we were gonna maybe perhaps go see Elizabeth's dad, but he was like, he's an hour. So from here, we had to drive an hour to see my parents. And then we would have had to drive. It would have been a big triangle. It was like
Mm,
my parents, and then his dad, her dad was on the coast. He actually lives close to us, but he's at his wife's house. It's like a family house that they own. It's a beach house. It's really nice.
nice.
So we were going to try to drive. There was like another hour and 20 minutes and then like an hour and a half back up here. So we ended up not doing all that, but it seemed stressful. And, she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, listen, we're going to have a great day. I'm like, Elizabeth and Brandon, I was speaking in the third person. I'm like, are going to have a great day. Everything that is going to need to happen is going to happen perfectly. And it's going to be great. And you know what? It ended up being an amazing day yesterday. We didn't go get to see her dad, which, she'll just see him this week or whatever. But we found this restaurant we were looking for. So when we were driving back, we were looking for spots on the beach that weren't too crowded or maybe somewhere in the woods. So we stopped at this place and we're hanging out. And then we were looking for somewhere to get maybe appetizers or whatever and a drink because we didn't drink with my parents. I was like, if we're going to drive to like another hour or whatever, we might as well wait. So we were just Googling things and we found this place. It was called Harry's Jail. So shout out to Harry's Jailhouse, Harry's Jailhouse. And we're driving through this neighborhood following Google. And all of a sudden it's like, you've arrived. And it was just a house on the right. And you had to pull behind it. And there was this big parking lot. And there's people sitting outside. And then there's this sign. It said the bar is this way. It's just in the basement. So we walked in this basement. It was all stone. The back wall were these giant stone, like the stone wall, like old world stuff. I'm like, whoa. And it was the best food and drinks we've had in a long time. It was so crazy. It wasn't even that expensive.
Where is this place in Connecticut?
It's in Middletown, near Middletown, Connecticut.
Which is how far away from like where you
Oh, we
used
could
to live?
go there. We could totally go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's basically like in between. It's close to Wallingford. So if you know where Wallingford is, it might even border Wallingford, or it's like a town over. So it's pretty close to Wallingford.
What's the name of it again?
Harry's Jailhouse.
Okay.
And I think if we go, we could try to call ahead of time and reserve. There's this one booth in the corner, and it has like it's weird. The booth, it's a table up against the corner, and one booth is like on one side of the wall, one's on the other. So it's like an L, and then there's chairs around it. And in the corner, because the booths don't meet, there's a little table with a red light that says bar. It's like so, yeah, it's really cool. Low ceilings and just everyone there
Nice.
super friendly. Yeah. So we definitely got
Well,
to check it out. They had these eggplant sliders. Oh my God, they were so good. Anyway,
sweet. I'm excited.
yeah.
So speaking of you are Brandon and your girl is Elizabeth, but I don't type. When I'm typing really quick, I just put B and E.
Yeah.
So I was texting Spoons this morning. We were just chit-chatting, catching up a little bit. And I said something about like, yeah, we'll be out in Jersey and we might hopefully get to see B and E. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm totally cracking up because in crime dramas and stuff, like B and E is breaking and entering. And she just thought that was really funny. And I didn't know that that's what it was. So, you guys are breaking and entering, even if it's like, I don't know, even if it's like has an esoteric meaning or
Yeah,
whatever. She
exactly. I like it.
she said like she said breaking down old patterns and entering with new.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta,
Yeah.
we're gonna tell Elizabeth about that idea. I love it.
Yep. So there
Uh,
you go.
Brady Rooney.
B and E.
That's hilarious.
Yep, yep, yep.
Well, the synchronicities, like I said, they are continuing. If I think of anything else, I'll pop it up. I did buy that book, but I still haven't. I've been carrying it with me everywhere in my little bag that I have, but I haven't got a chance to write in it. Um, but I
No
will get
worries.
there. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess today we're going to be talking about the Tao. Excited about that versus 45 and 46, correct? Right? Yep, I have those
Yeah.
right.
We
So,
haven't done a Dow in a little while, so this is
yeah, I haven't done a Tao
it's
now. What, at least what, a month?
it's been a while. And, I've been off for a couple of weeks, so we're back, sort of.
Back. We're rolling with the punches.
Yeah, we're just rolling.
All right, let's see. Let's bring this up here. Okay, cool. So verse 45. I'm just gonna fix something here on my end. There we go. Oh, I think I also have you pinned, so let me undo that.
Oh my gosh, you still had me pinned this whole time.
No. Oh, so it was
Like
at
whenever you
gallery.
talk, you'll show up. Yeah,
Well, oh yeah, no, it was at gallery view before. So
I
once
don't
you were
know.
done with the card, it was still in gallery view. It's just
Oh,
that if
okay.
you're pinned, when we're showing the Dow, you'll be the only one that it shows when you talk. I'm pretty sure it's how it works. So
Oh,
like in the corner
okay.
box, because I
So
can
now
flip
it'll
between
be
each
the two
gallery.
of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's getting warm out there. Whoa, that's crazy. All right. Yeah, it's going to be in the 90s this week. I guess today is going to be mid 80s, which if you're from Connecticut, you all know it probably will be 90 today. They always do that. So we'll have to
Mm,
go get the ACs out of the basement later. All right. So verse 45 from the Stephen Mitchell version from 1988. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. True fulfillment seems empty, yet it is
fullness.
fully. Oh, true fullness seems empty, yet it is fully present. True straightness seems crooked. True wisdom seems foolish. True art seems artless. The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. Nice.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be some stuff to say about that one.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Dwight Goddard, The Virtue or Day of Greatness. Extreme perfection seems imperfect. Its function is not exhausted. Extreme fullness appears empty. Its function is not exercised. Extreme straightness appears crooked. Great skill, clumsy. Great eloquence, stammering. It's funny how these are very similar, these two. Um,
Yeah.
Motion conquers cold, quietude conquers heat. Not greatness, but purity and clearness are the world's standard.
Yeah, they are very similar. Mhm.
At the beginning.
First part. All right. Stan Rosenthal from 1984 entitles his verse Changes. In retrospect, even those accomplishments which seemed perfect when accomplished may seem imperfect and ill formed. Wow, I love that. But this does not mean that such accomplishments have outlived their usefulness. That which once seemed full may later empty seem, yet still be unexhausted. That which once seemed straight may seem twisted when seen once more. Intelligence can seem stupid and eloquence seem awkward. Movement may overcome the cold and stillness. Let me try that again. Movement may overcome the cold and stillness, heat, but stillness in movement is the way of the Tao. Oh, I get it. Okay, so movement may overcome the cold and stillness overcome the heat. Basically, is what they're saying. But stillness and movement is the way of the Tao. I like it. Okay.
All right. Aleister Crowley, verse 45, entitles this The Overflowing of Day. And if you don't mind moving your little mouse
Oh,
thing for a
yeah,
second,
sorry.
there you go. Thanks. It's
Oh, I
okay.
forgot we did it. There we go.
There you go. Despise thy masterpieces, thus renew the vigor of thy creation. Deem thy fullness emptiness, thus shall thy fullness never be empty. And let the straight appear crooked to thee, thy craft clumsiness, thy music discord. and music is spelled with a K, just like magic is spelled with a K.
Yep.
Exercise moderateth cold, stillness, heat. To be pure and to keep silence is the true law of all that are beneath heaven.
Interesting. All right. So we go through and break these down. So, I mean, this one kind of speaks for itself here. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. True fullness seems empty, yet it is fully present. True straightness seems crooked. True wisdom seems foolish. True art seems artless. Do you think we should just go through and cover each one instead of the parts, or because they're so short?
Yeah, if you want to do the whole thing,
Yeah, okay.
that's fine.
The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. So, first off, on this verse, I'm really getting that this world is inverted. It's like a reflection. I feel like that's why you see mirrors, in occultism, they talk about mirrors or the black mirror and all this stuff.
Or
I think
reading things backwards,
reading things backwards.
or the hanged man looking at things upside down.
Yep. And there's this guy, Jason, who talks about things on YouTube, and he was talking about how, and again, I don't agree with his exact definition of all this, but I love what he was saying. And it was like, this reality is a mirror of the true reality. Now, I would say that, we have to kind of treat this reality as a true reality when we're here. But it's interesting because it's same thing. It's like an inversion. So when you're taking this verse and you're looking at it, it's saying that it's going to appear this, true perfection is going to seem imperfect. True fullness will seem empty, yet it is fully present. So if it seems in the physical, like maybe you don't have like what you need, like you're short on money, or you want to love in your life or whatever, and it seems like you're
Or you
empty.
believe in scarcity.
Yeah.
Scarcity.
Exactly. And the same thing with perfection. You might view yourself as imperfect. I would imagine that most people that are listening to the sound of this do view themselves as imperfect. And, Sharon and I work on that ourselves too. We're working on things inside ourselves to view ourselves as perfect and just doing our best. And that's really what's going on, because you can't get to the next step until you take that first step. So if you look over at something and it's like, say you just want to cross the street, that's a great analogy for wanting to be healed or enlightened or whatever it is, right? Or wanting all your shit taken care of. You're like, I want to get there. I want to get to a point, where I could end suffering or have a lot less suffering. I want to just be there right now. But it's like you wanting to just teleport across the street. No, you have to wait for the light to change. Unless you want to jaywalk or however you want to do it. And that's why everyone has their own method, right? But you have to wait to the time for the time is right for you. And then you can proceed across the street, and you have to do it one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. It's the only way you're going to get over there. And that's why I'll always say that we are where we are now is perfect. We have to be where we are now to become the person we want to be. And when we get there, we're going to look back and be like, wow, those were the good times. Those were the fun times. Remember when we used to do this? Or, a lot of people will look back on things like, say they're living somewhere and they want a better situation in their life. Or like I said, you want to find the love of your life or whatever, and you want to get married and have kids and stuff. Say that's an example of how you're feeling, dear listener. If this is you, you're not just going to wake up one morning married with kids, right? You're going to, oops, I forgot to silence it. You're going to take these steps. And then when you are married with kids and when you find yourself in that situation, you wake up one day and you're like, wow, it has happened. All those days that you look back on that you thought you were suffering, those are going to be the good old days. You're going to be like, wow, those were the fun days. And again, not that you're not going to enjoy your life in the present moment, but you're going to look back and be with fond memories on those days. And so I say, why not enjoy it now? Why not look for the positive things that you're going to remember later and just enjoy them now?
Yeah.
That's kind of the key to all this, right?
Yes, absolutely. When you said reality is like a mirror of something else, right? Of
True
whatever.
reality or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It also makes me think of like dreams because we've talked about it before a lot in the like some older episodes, but sometimes it really feels like dreams are where you really are kind of like your true self
Yeah.
or you're like living in the real reality and that waking up into this reality is the dream. So in that way, to me, it's kind of like seems like a mirror as well.
Yeah. It's a spiritual mirror, if you will. And I love that idea because if there is some kind of higher true self that we have, perhaps when we're dreaming, we get to
Right.
commune, we get to be that self and watch what happened or watch what could happen or whatever it is, or ideas we,
Or we're closer to that.
yeah, we're close. Exactly. We're closer to that union
Yeah.
or whatever it is, because right now it feels like we're trying to deny it in our singularity of being in our consciousness. But I feel like this age, that's just what it's about. It's about the division and the separation and then healing yourself. Because I feel like in the past age, if there was a golden age, we were all kind of one consciousness. It was a little different. Maybe we didn't even speak. I think we was just like a telepathic thing, kind of like animals are with their instincts and stuff. So,
Could be.
could it be? I like that idea.
Yeah, we don't know. Um, what do you think about the true straightness seems crooked?
I think that goes back also to the inversion that we see in this realm. And it's kind of like, if you didn't participate in what was going on in 2020, people thought you were crazy, but you
Mm-hmm.
were the one that was, out of anyone else, not you personally, Sharon, but all of us that didn't participate in those antics, we were the ones that were straight, truly straight or whatever, or closer to the truth than the other people, and they thought we were crazy.
But
So
it appeared to others as
yeah,
if we were insane because we weren't following orders and falling in line with whatever someone else was saying.
and even to
what the
people,
what the majority allegedly were
the
saying.
majority, and even to people who didn't agree, and we'll say that people that just didn't buy the mainstream narrative of 2020, some of those people still went along with the antics because they were afraid. And those people, they thought we were crazy too. And now those people are like, wow, you guys were heroes, like or whatever. Don't put
Or
us on.
maybe they're not saying it.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of those people thought we were crazy as well. So I feel like that's just an example, not like we're heroes or anything. We just happen to catch that one. I'm sure there's other ones that we fall victim to or whatever, but not victim. Maybe we're fooled by. I'll say that there's other antics that we might be fooled by, but and then if you look at spirituality, you can do it the same way because say you're somebody who meditates or you're somebody who really wants to live the golden rule, you might be in a situation where you're with somebody. Say you find a wallet on the ground with a bunch of money and they want to keep the money. And you're like, no, I think we should contact the rightful owner of this wallet. And they're going to think you're crazy. You're like, there's $1,000 in here, dude. Just take the money and go. I got a story about that. I was working in the car business and somebody left a wallet in the bathroom. It was just like a one person bathroom we had or whatever. And it had like 80 or 100 or maybe $200 or something like that. And we called the guy and came back and he just gave me the money. He was like, here, the money that was in there. He's like, you can keep it. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I wouldn't. He's like, no, he wouldn't take it. He just left. I was like, all right, if you're going to give it to me. So,
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. You never know what's going to happen in those
right,
situations. And people are going to think you're crazy if you're one who's trying to do the right thing or whatever.
right. I also think about true straightness being, seems crooked, true wisdom seems foolish. I just think about how we appear to people who are still very much in this like religious perspective of
Yeah.
like, oh, well, look, the Bible and what about Jesus and all this stuff? And, you're too new agey, or you're this or you're that. And, we appear to, because we have decided to be open-minded and question things like we should, we're the ones looked at like crazy because we aren't still doing what everyone else is falling in line to do, and like going to church and, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? So we appear to be crooked. We appear to be foolish. Um, when all we're doing is saying, you know what, we don't know. Like, we don't know if what that book says is all true. Like, we're passing it through a filter of like, okay, God, show me if it's true, and show me how true or how valid that is, or how I can apply it to my life and how it can serve me. Not so much about, having a belief and a like, oh, this is true and I'm going to defend it until the day I die. And don't you dare speak negatively about it, You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I think a way this inversion also happens too is you get movements like the New Age movement that take, we've talked about this so much, so we don't have to harp on it too much, but they'll take ideas like I am God, right? And then they just warp it even further. So then people who are in these quote unquote religious circles where will hear us talk, and then they're like, oh, you're
Mm-hmm.
just New Agers and you're crazy. And we've said this a bunch of times, but I'll say it when New Agers say that they're God, I think it's more of
There's an ego attached to it.
there's an ego attached to it, and there's also a sense of no action. Like there's really nothing you have to do. Like they'll say, "Oh, the world's perfect. Everything that's happening is fine," and I'll just sit here and kind of take it all, and I'll just go with the flow. I'll be uh, a pacifist, right? I won't.
Are
I'll
you talking about that little
at the
clip?
David R. Hawkins, yeah. We're
Oh my
gonna talk about
God.
that in a future episode too. But I'll be
I
somebody,
want to talk about that.
and what you're doing really, and they talk about this in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Tao also, you're trying to refrain from action. But what people don't realize is you're always going to be doing something. You're always going to be creating. And you might, and like Bashar says, you might be creating an abundance of lack in your own life, right? But you're creating the situation you're always creating. So the new age kind of has just stuck um, accepting this shitty life that you have and you're suffering. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to kind of just go along with it and I'm going to see it in a different way. And it's so close. It's just like the religion thing with the message of Jesus and the golden rule. But then they get away from that and they, you have to idol worship really is what they're trying to get you to
Yeah.
idol worship somebody.
It's not the message that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's the perspective from the person and the intention of the person
And the
that actually
application.
gives it. Yes, it's the application of it.
Yes. So when we say things like we are God, what we mean is we're an aspect of this all father,
Greater
all mind, the creator, the
consciousness.
all, kind of like where Frodo and Tolkien in this scenario would be God. I'm not saying Tolkien's God. And and we would be like characters in this story. And then in that part we
Like
still are a part,
creations of
yeah,
Tolkien.
of Tolkien, and we are a part of his mind in that way. So you could kind of look at it similar to that.
Yeah.
So when we say that, yes, we are God, we are an aspect of God, we're a part of God, but we aren't everything. It doesn't revolve all around just me,
Yeah,
just Sharon. We're
exactly.
we're aspects of a whole. And I feel like going back to what I was saying before, that whole golden age thing, right now we're in this age where we are uh, spreading apart, but I feel like we're going to have to come back together. And what literally is happening is it's like we're going through a sieve, like when you're panning for gold or
Yeah,
whatever,
Siv, yeah.
or or you're at the beach and you're going
A,
through the sand trying to get the
a
shell.
colander or something.
Same thing. I think that's what's going on. We're going through a cosmic colander, if you will, a cosmic colander. I like that. And it doesn't matter which side of the colander you end up on. It really doesn't. Because I was even thinking about this because of people in our circles, and we talk about this, and like even, archaics or like any of these people, we all think we're like the chosen ones, that we know what's up, and the normies are the ones going to be stuck here. But I got news for you. We might be recycled. There might be something we're not getting. We can't just think that we're going to be, oh, it's going to be great and fine, and we're going to go to the next level of consciousness, and oh, we're going to have a
And we
party.
may, and whatever happens, it will be fine. It will
And
be
that,
great.
yes, and
Whatever happens.
yeah, and whatever if you don't, it'll be great, and if you do, it'll be great. But the thing
Yeah.
is, it's so subtle. You could get attached to being one of these
Yes.
people that's going to go on to the next level, and that could bring you down, your attachment to being better than everyone else, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or more.
Yes.
It's so funny and so nuanced. So I don't know how
Yes. It's
way off in
very
left field there,
nuanced.
but
I love it. I love how nuanced it is. It's like God has a sense of humor, you know?
I saw somebody talking about something similar to this today, and it was kind of mind blowing. It was this comedian. His name is Owen Benjamin. I saw a clip that somebody put up of him speaking recently about evil, and he uses this little. It's crazy because he uses this little like action figure, and it's a Bigfoot, and he has a flashlight, and he's basically saying in the beginning, when you're innocent, you don't see the light, and I would love to. Maybe he said this and I missed it because I didn't watch the whole thing. But in the beginning, I think the light's shining in your eyes, and you're just like, "Oh, this is great." So you're going along, and you don't see it. And he says when you wake up, it's like the light's behind you and you see the shadow everywhere, and you start to point out in the world, and you're like, oh, this is what's evil. That's evil. That's evil. And he's like, you don't realize it's your own shadow. And then as the light raises, your shadow gets shorter and you could see better. And he says, but you have a darker shadow right in front of you that's smaller. And that's the most dangerous time. He's like, that's when your ego comes in and you think you know it all. And I was just like, this guy, what? And he
How,
talked.
like, how is he saying all that and not putting two and two
Well,
together?
this is the thing though, because I myself, I'm the same way. When I start getting into, well, when I got into self-healing and I'm working on stuff, I'll point to it out in the world everywhere with my own same behavior, and I'll ridicule it, right? So I think it's one of the steps of this. So I'm happy for him that he's making these analogies, and they made a short clip and they put it out because there's a lot of truth in there. There really is. He's like, when you get up to a certain point and that shadow's small, that's when it's the most dangerous. And I was like, whoa, I'll send you the clip if I could. It was on Instagram. It's really
I
good. So,
wonder where he got that from.
I don't know, but I'm telling you, this is the thing where everybody has a little bit of their own truth, and if you put,
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. And if you put, I wonder where he got it from though. All right. So,
Huh?
no, because I was thinking, like, I wonder where he got it from. Maybe he was looking in the mirror and he's like, oh shit, wait, maybe I'm doing this now. But I'm guilty of it too. That's what I'm saying. It's not like I'm saying that he's
Yeah.
better than me or I'm better than him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a great analogy, but it's good though, because that's what we always try to say about content creators. If you don't put them on a pedestal and think that they're God, you could just look at what they say and you could take what makes sense for you. And that's some
Yeah.
amazing
Take
stuff.
the nuggets that work for you.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but that's where all this stuff gets really tricky, right? And it, again, going back to what I said, even if we don't recycle or go into the next whatever, it's going to be great. It's going to be perfect. It's what we need. It's like a parent
Yes.
not letting you do something that you want to do when you're a child. You think you're ready, but it's like, no, you should stay away from the fire. Like, leave the campfire alone. Let the adult tend it. The adults tend it. You're just
Yeah.
like 5.
You're like, I want the poker.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So I know adults that are still like that. You can't get a fight like if there's too many guys around and you're trying to start a fire. It's like, but anyway. So I guess let's go back to this lovely part.
Yeah.
See how much we got
The
on it.
next part was true art seems artless. Do you have any comment on that part?
It's the beauty in the world, like true art to me is looking out the window and just seeing what's created. Um,
Right.
And I feel like that people look up at the sky. True art is
Yeah.
the sky during the day or the night. You could just lay on the
Mhm.
ground and look at the sky. We used to do that for hours when we were kids, right? And so I feel like that is kind of a piece of what it means, true art, the true creation. Or it could
Mm.
even be somebody too. Maybe that's a comedian, or I'm always speaking from a frame of reference, right? So, or somebody that is an entertainer and their music or whatever it is, their art, say it even is their comedy, it just seems like silly. Like look at Rodney Norman, for example, right? He's an artist, but he
Yes.
looks like he's just this silly guy. Like, yeah, I have no idea. He's like that one short I put in the chat. He's like, I just want to remind you
Just
guys,
remember.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making up as I go along. All right. See you later.
Yeah.
And
Aren't
that
we
is
all?
true
I mean,
art,
not
right? And it
not
looks
all, but some of
ridiculous.
us.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And there's truth contained in there. He's basically saying to people, look, I'm successful, I'm doing this, and I'm just making it up as I go along, and people just say that's a silly guy making a silly statement. But no, that's art because that hits people. So what do you think?
Yeah. No, I like that. I didn't really know kind of where to go with that. So what you said was helpful.
I always like when you ask me because I feel like I have an idea of what a lot of these verses mean, and sometimes it's just an unformed idea.
Hmm.
And when you ask me, then I'm actually forced to put it into words, and it's nice because I can collect my thoughts and gather about the subject. So
Yay.
look at that. Look at that. All right, let's bring this back. But so this verse really is just tackling a lot of these uh paradoxes, I guess, right? A lot of these inversions.
Yeah.
And then
Did you want to do the bottom part?
yeah, I'll do that now. So, and I feel like it wraps it up perfectly because it says the master allows things to happen. So it's like, look at this is the state of the world,
Mm,
right? Everything's inverted. But if you want to be the master allow things to happen. She shapes events as they come. So what does that mean? She or he is in the present moment,
mm-hmm.
steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. So she doesn't try to force things. The master is not trying to control, but he or she lets the situation arise and then just deals with it as it comes. And I feel like that's effort versus feeling right there. That's a lot of that.
Yeah.
You try to shape your life in the way you kind of want it, but you don't let things bother you if they fall apart. If something doesn't work out the way you wanted it
Yeah.
to, you're able to see that, all right, my plan wasn't the master God's plan. I'm gonna have to pivot here. How are we gonna make this work? How is this gonna work for me? How is
Yeah.
thing that seems like a disaster, how's it going to work for my good eventually in the end? And then you start to focus on that. And what you're doing there, and you don't even realize, is you're accepting reality, what already happened. And acceptance is the final stage of grief. So you're skipping to the final
All the other
stage of
ones.
grief, right? You're just like, all right, I'm accepting it. And then you're looking for the positives and how you can move forward, and not the best situation always for you, because sometimes if you're working on something and it's a project of your own making, you're so proud of it, and then something happens and it goes wrong. Of course, we all have the view from our own selves, right? So we're like, oh, this sucks. We always focus on how it affects us. Well, that's a good time to stop and say, maybe what I was doing wasn't for the greatest good of the realm. And this isn't like a communistic thing, right? Everybody, so relax. But it's maybe it's not a service to others kind of venture that I was on. Maybe there's a way I could pivot and make this more service to others, which service to others is service to yourself, everybody. It's loving yourself and then being able to love others, right? It's not a selfish
Yeah.
thing, it's a selfless act with self love.
Yeah.
And really, all it means, and I'm just going to start saying this every time we talk about it, is that little voice in your head that, when I say, all right, I'm going to go try this at open mics, is what I'm going to do. There's a little voice that's like, oh, people, they'll probably won't find that funny. Oh, you might freeze on stage. What if you forget what to say? What if this? What if that? I'm going to say, hey, little voice in my head. I could be like, fuck you or whatever. That's the first stage, the stage of this, right? The anger. Or you could say, hey, little voice in my head, I know you're just trying to keep me safe. I understand it. Thank you so much. Those are the dangers. They're noted. But guess what? I'm going to do it anyway because I'm not afraid of that stuff, because I'm not afraid of failing on stage in front of a bunch of people because I've done it hundreds of times. It's great. No. So, but that's really what it's about. That's the self-love. It's to choose the other voice, to realize that little voice in the back of your head is not you. You're just listening to it. And it could have been formed by someone while you're growing up, parent, father figure, priest, teacher, anything, any one of those people. It could have been formed, and now you're living by it. And it's this mechanism that normally keeps you safe, but it's too much. Think of 2020, right, with the feminine. Everybody wanted people to be safe, but in my opinion, I think they went a little too far, just a little too far, guys. Whatever. Same thing though, right? It's like unsolicited advice. Same thing. You're going too far. People don't want to hear it. That's why we do it on our show. If you want to tune in, come check it out. If not, that's fine too. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, but that's really, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's what this whole verse is telling you. It's really about self love. If you want, listen, we live in basically the Tao. If it was my translation, we should do our own translation of the Tao. Oh my God. And just make it like, because my translation would be like, listen, the world is inverted. This is how you deal with it. You got to let go of control and just deal with things as they come. Boom. All right. What's the next verse? Like that would be my verse 45. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you were saying earlier about the greatest good for the world or the people or whatever. And I think about it as the greatest good for all involved. And I find myself asking for that rather, like, when people are like, oh, I'm going to pray for you or I'm going to pray for whatever. I don't necessarily ask for the alleviation of the suffering necessarily. Not that I'm being mean or rude or like I want somebody to suffer, but sometimes that's what's needed for that person, right? So when I am having intentional thoughts about someone and hoping that, yeah, I do hope they get better, or I do hope that, things work out well for them. For me, it's more about their their spiritual journey. And I just ask that everything work out for their good and for everyone involved, all the good of everyone involved in the situation. Um, but yes, going back to allowing things to happen. I'm just reminded of what happened like a little over a week ago when like my mom was in the hospital. I got sick and I'm feeling like crap. And I go to open the fridge and the ice maker releases all this water onto the floor. And I'm just like, could things actually get any worse right now? Like, and it seems really silly. It seems like looking back now, I'm like, it's silly, you know. Things happen, things can snowball and happen all at once. And it's just I think it's just a test, you know. It's like a test of our strength, of our will, of our
spirit.
in spirit, of our intentions, of our desires. Um, because as that all happened and I had to clean the floor and stuff, Cody was on the phone for work. I could hear him on a call, and I was like, I can't interrupt him right now. So I'm gonna have to clean up this mess, and then I have to figure out what to do. Like I need to call somebody. I don't, and of course it's like very stressful when too many things are happening all at once. And me particularly, when I have like too many things on my plate all at once, that's really stressful for me. It stresses me out. So I just felt like very overwhelmed. And I went to the bedroom and I was just like, I started feeling this like tightness in my throat, this burning sensation. It was like burning so much. And I'm like, why is this happening? I've never had this really, I don't think I've ever had this feeling before where my throat is just like burning. And I was like, feeling like maybe it was like the coming of a panic attack of some sort. And at this whole time, all these thoughts are running through my head like it's not that big of a deal. Like it's fine. It's like you've experienced this before. The fridge did this to you 6 years ago, pretty much almost exactly.
Yeah.
This
And
like
obsolescence. Thank you, Ken.
what planned obsolescence. Why are you crying? Why are you upset? And then I just had to be like, it's okay. It's okay to cry. This is probably the straw that broke the camel's back. You're letting off an emotion or an old wound or something deeper. It's probably has nothing to do with this fridge. Maybe it does, but whatever it is, it's not the fridge. It's it's
Yeah.
not that you're sick. It's not that your mom is in the hospital. It's none of that. But all of these things piled on top provided a like maybe like a release of steam or like a what do you call those holes in the ground that
Oh,
like a
geyser.
geyser or
Yeah.
like something like that. It was just like it just happened and now you have to release the steam. You have to just let it steam. And I had some CBD drops next to the bed and I was like, "Oh, I need that right now. Let me use that now because I'm very anxious and I'm going crazy." And I put those drops in. I let myself cry and release whatever because I didn't even know where it was coming from. I was just like, I don't know why I'm sad. I don't know why I'm upset and crying, but whatever. Just get it out. And then we can deal with the, okay, who do we call XYZ? How do we get someone here to check it? How do we get a new fridge because it's probably broken, etc. On and on. So it was definitely a test of allowing things to happen. And it it like continues to be because the fridge that we wanted is not available and we're leaving in a couple of days. So it's like we had to schedule the delivery for when we get back. And it's like I was just thinking this morning, we don't have the fridge yet. That's something I have to do when we get back. And I'm just like, yeah, you'll cross that bridge when you get there. So when you get back, you'll cross the bridge then. And it's okay. It'll be okay. Everything will be fine.
Yeah, and that's really what I feel this realm is all about. It's those simple little things that happen because, something that made me think, it made me, something you said made me think of this was it also could be the stress that you were feeling was because you hadn't recorded an episode in like a couple weeks, and that's like your outlet, right? So it's like you
Yeah,
have to get
good point. I hadn't even thought of that. I hadn't let off my steam for the week or two.
it. Yeah, right. And
Oh
then
my God.
the other thing that was popping in my brain when you were speaking about this, and it adds to what you say too at the end is like all these things that happen to us. Could it be that they are a test? And if you are somebody who wants to get to the next level, what better way than to just let this universe know that these things don't bother you? And you can't do it by ignoring them and like using apathy and being like, oh, it's fine, I don't care. You have to really accept it and let it go. And as things happen, if you can accept and let it go, then this universe, I mean, you're going to be at this point in this realm where basically everything's pretty much going to be going your way, and you're not really going to be learning any lessons anymore. You're going to have to graduate onto something else, I would imagine, right? So maybe it still is this realm and you'll come back in another form, but it'll be a different set of circumstances that'll be more geared to that. But it's like that saying, it's always the worst, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Hmm.
Things are always worse right before they get better, kind of thing. So I feel like if maybe once you get to a certain point, all these things do start happening to try to get your attention. Like your fridge breaks, your mom, this happens, this, all these things that happen. And if you could still be okay during all that inside internally, because I feel like that's because when you're acting apathetic, it's like it looks like you're all right on the outside, but the inside is like where the mess is, right? But when you're letting things go and working with it, you might look like a mess on the outside because sometimes you might have to cry or you might have to release energy in a certain way, or like we said before, you're going to act like you're crazy because you're not making sense to people because of what you're doing. It doesn't go with the flow of what they're used to, the inverted world. So maybe that is the key. You just get to a point where nothing really affects you anymore that way. And then you get to graduate or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds plausible to me though, because it follows that same line. If we're here to learn lessons and now we got to the point where we're over it all, basically. I mean, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but we have learned all our lessons, maybe. And I'm not saying I'm anywhere close to that, anyone. So I'm not like, oh, yeah, I figured it out. So you can too. These are just hints, maybe, to the way. I don't know.
Yeah. Um, Something you said earlier reminded me of the link that Joe sent into the chat about how to let go, um, based on the information from David R. Hawkins' book about how to let go, letting go. So I'll put that link in the description box as well. But that was a good 11-minute like breakdown of like the concept of letting go. And it's just all like lately, just these synchronicities are all like related, all these topics. And they're coming up just at the perfect time. I'm excited because
It
it
really is
just,
like, I feel like
mm,
things do fall into place when you kind of start to let go and lean back a little and go with
mm,
the flow. Stuff, it really does. It's just whenever you're being stubborn. And I know because I'm a professional stubborn person if I need to be. Like I could play for like the NBA or the whatever, the NPA or the no, that I don't know. Anyway, um, so even like in work life and all this stuff, I noticed when I'm just going with the flow, things just seem to go much easier because it's kind of like whenever you don't want to go with the flow, you're telling the universe that no, I think I know the better way. And the universe is like, oh,
yes.
yeah. All right. What about this? What about that? It just keeps throwing things.
I think I know better than God.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think I know better than God. And God's like, okay, here we go. Like lobbing things. And I don't always like to say it that way because I'm not one of these people who thinks God's sitting up there like messing with us.
No, I don't either. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's a good analogy though, because you really
Yeah,
are.
for people who do have
Yeah.
that sense of God.
And I don't know
So,
how many times in my life where I'd be like, I'm never going to do that. And then I find myself doing that. So
right. Never say never. That's something I've said it for many years, never say never. It's, I'm the type of person, I think it's an ENTJ thing that I will double, triple, quadruple check myself before I say anything that is based in quote fact or whatever. And even so if I don't know something like 100%, I'll say I'm pretty sure, or it's highly likely that, or I believe it's the case, but don't quote me. I do that because I don't, I've never been one to just like make a claim like that. At least, I mean, I really tried not to. Maybe in my days when I was a Christian, I would make more claimy statements about Jesus and about the Bible because, that was like indoctrinated into me. But um but since I've become more open-minded about what this reality is, I don't make claim statement. I try not to make claim statements like that. I tell people how I see things, but I don't tell them that that's how they should see things. If that makes any sense?
yeah, no, that makes 100% sense. I feel like it's a lot better because then you're accepting people around you, you accept their worldview. Because whenever you don't accept someone's worldview, they automatically, well, not all the time, a lot of times when you don't accept someone's worldview, they will get offended and they don't might not even realize it, but they will want to argue their point of view, or they feel they don't get a nice warm feeling about you. But if you were somebody who accepts it and you talk about it, you're like, oh, that's great, be like, oh yeah. And then I say things like, yeah, I'm a little crazier, I think like this thing, but whatever. And I feel like it's much better than saying, no, no, this is the way it is. Like there's no way we ever went to the moon. What are you, crazy? Because you're literally calling someone crazy, and that's not a good way to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You're not going to change anyone's mind.
Yeah. You could say, could it be maybe there's a possibility that
Yeah.
maybe we didn't, I'm open to the idea, to the thought.
Or if you embrace this whole quote, bring it back to the Tao, this verse, the beginning of it, and you realize it is inverted, you could say, maybe I'm just crazy. I look at the world in a crazy way. I'm the one who's a little nuts, but I think, and then you say it, and this way you're taking all the pressure off them. You're not saying to them, "Hey, you're the crazy one, and I'm right." You're just like, "Oh, could it be this way?" And I feel like they'd be more open because anytime I remember that I've said that, people are like, "Oh no, I don't think you're that crazy." It could be that, and then they start to want to agree with your point of view because you're being so nice about it, and they also want to connect with you too. So then they start trying to build bridges instead of
Yeah,
walls. And
right.
that's really what it's about, building the bridges instead of putting up walls. Sometimes you
Yeah,
gotta, put up a wall or set a boundary. I get it. These aren't
right.
absolute, just like we said, right? Never say never. But
Yeah. That's what I don't like about like YouTube channels and content creators who are all about the division and all about the having a debate about something because that's automatically building a wall. There's no open mindedness about that at all. Some people might argue that there is, but I just don't see it. Like you're clearly not going to convince someone else of your view, and they're not going to convince you of their view. It's already there. The fact that you made it a debate and an argument, it's already it's already there. Now it's just about rhetoric. Who can convince someone else that they did a better job of defending their position than the other person? And that's all perspective. That's all based on people's views. There's no real truth in that. It's all just ego defense, ego, me. I'm right, you're wrong. It's
tell them how you
retarded.
tell them how you feel, Sharon. Tell you it's retarded.
So
Yeah, no,
annoying
I
to
hear
me.
you. No, I hear you. You're right. You're exactly right. But you know what though? It's not fun though, right? But oh, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You're right. It doesn't change anyone's mind, but it could be fun, and it also gets eyeballs, which translates to money for people. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very lucrative to
Yes.
be a person who is somebody that is like pushing aside or
Sensationalization of things.
yeah, exactly. And
Um,
so
and hey, that's if that's their journey, great, fantastic. They can go for it. But I just that's not my cup of tea. I don't like it.
well, you'll remember, right? Money is a currency. And if you gain that currency, think of that's why, we watched Better Call Saul. Now I've been talked into Breaking Bad again. And you know what? I got to say, thank you, Elizabeth, for sticking to this because I was like, you know what? It's Breaking Bad was crazy. There's a lot of violence. There's like just some bullshit. And I was like, I saw it once, but I'm watching it again with new eyes. And no, we're not like binging it. We might watch an episode a night or maybe two, but she always ends up falling asleep, so I'll just turn it off and watch something or like Ram Dass or something. But so what I'm realizing though, it's just like Better Call Saul. It's a good piece of art to exhibit human behavior, and one of the great messages I'm seeing is these guys get all this money, but money's just a currency, and you got to think about how they got it. They got it by selling drugs, and that's like one of the most people are plagued, families are ripped apart, lives are destroyed every day by meth and drugs like that. So it's no wonder that all their lives fall apart and all these terrible things happen to them. So with that same thing in mind, if you are a content creator and you are somebody who's working on division and stuff, say you're like Alex Jones or whatever, look what's happening to him just in the media. Now maybe that's all fake or whatever, but he was sued for like $1 billion or whatever. So he got
Wow.
all this money, and even if it's not real, it's what's shown to us in the realm, right? So we could use it as a lesson. He made all this money and everyone knows who he is, and but he lost it all because of how he got the money, because he got it through anger, and he lost it through people who were angry at
It's
him.
called karma.
Yeah. So that's exactly why Sharon and I aren't, that's one of the reasons why we don't really monetize the channel or push hard for donations or whatever. Like people donate to us and we really appreciate it. And if you have the extra money and you feel like you want to buy us something nice or whatever, please go ahead and donate. But we're more about people's attention. That's the currency we're looking for. We want you to hang out here and and resonate with what we say and comment and add to the conversation and spread it around because we feel like that's the best use of this. Now, if for some reason we get blow up and start making money or whatever, we're not going to fight against it because maybe it's God saying, hey, this is a way, for you to make some income or whatever. So we're not against it either. But the whole thing with currencies, people don't realize there are other forms of currency. It's not just money. And if you do obtain that money in a way that you can consider negative, or people had to go through suffering for you to obtain all that money, it's probably going to disappear fast. The great analogy in Breaking Bad or whatever is like they have all this money, but they can't do anything with it because they can't prove how they got it. It's just sitting around in like storage.
Money laundering.
Yeah, so they got to do money laundering, right? Like at one point in the episode, they just have a storage unit and it's just filled with money because they can't do anything with it until they can launder it. So that's a great way to look at the currency. So if you're somebody who is a content creator again and you're getting all this currency, maybe you don't have to worry about the IRS or whatever, but there's other things that are gonna be attracted into your life or whatever, so I think that's enough. I think people get my point.
And we haven't even done Dwight Goddard's.
All right, let's go, Dwight. I think these will move faster though, because we pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, I think we have. I think this one's very similar. So it's called The Virtue or Day of Greatness. So it says, extreme perfection seems imperfect. Its function is not exhausted. Extreme fullness appears empty. Its function is not exercised. Extreme straightness appears crooked. Great skill, clumsy. Great eloquence, stammering. And then it says, motion conquers cold, quietude conquers heat. Not greatness, but purity and clearness are the world's standard. And like the first 4 lines there, the 5 lines, they're pretty much very similar to Stephen Mitchell's. He says, instead of perfection being perfectly itself, he says, its function is not exhausted. Extreme perfection seems imperfect. Its function is not exhausted. Do you have any thoughts on that?
There's probably a couple different ways that you could look at that, but I would say that people, when they look at something, they'll take it at its face value and they'll say, oh, you're not perfect. Like Brandon, oh, you're whatever. But they don't, my function, like I haven't performed all my functions yet. So how would you be able to judge anybody by their life? You could even find a murderer. You can't even judge them because if, say, they never get caught and then they find God and then they atone and they do all this thing. And then who knows, maybe they'll end up being like the best person ever. And, even the family of the person they murdered ends up exonerating them because of some crazy thing that you know what I'm saying? Like you never know until someone's done, their story isn't exhausted. So that's kind of how I look at that.
Yeah, I love that. It's a very great way of looking at that. It's like what Christians think about as God's love. Like you can be a murderer, you can be a prostitute, and you can come to Jesus and have your come to Jesus moment and, reverse your whole life's trajectory and go in a different direction than you were going. And, and if it's okay with Jesus, then it's okay with the Christians. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if God forgave them, you can forgive them too.
And it's not the same. So it's not like what Sharon isn't saying, like, if you kill someone, all you got to do is be like, I'm a born again Christian. I'm great. It's more like an analogy where people really could have that flip. I've had that flip in my life. I'm not saying I'm a murderer, but I've had that flip in my life where there was things that I would, just like somebody who has an addictions, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They wake up from it. So murder is really someone that's a murderer or a terrible.
It's just another quote sin. It's just another escapism. And, some people might be like, oh, well, drinking is not as bad as killing people, you know, but in God's eyes, I don't know. Is it? Is it any different if it's just escapism? You know?
It's this, I
I,
would say it's the same thing. It's just levels of what it will bring to you if you do it, right? So if you murder someone,
yes, good call.
it's going to
Yeah.
be a lot more physical consequences in this realm.
More karma probably that you'll have
Yes,
to work out. Hmm.
exactly. So, and then in the spiritual realm, obviously there's ramifications and stuff, but it's more about this physical thing. And even if you are someone who's a murderer, you kill somebody, and then you have this whole come to Jesus moment, and you're like, oh, I mean, you still might have to do your time. You still killed that person.
Hmm.
And and I don't want to talk about Better Call Saul because I don't want to give away any endings or whatever, but sometimes people, uh, when they wake up to this, even if they were a murderer, if they realize that, and then they don't look at them as a victim, they'll do their time that they have to do, but they'll do it without the lens of them being feeling like a
Yeah.
victim. They just
Yeah.
my
It's
time.
like they turn their life around and now they're like, yeah, I did that. And what, this price that I quote have to pay is nothing because I took someone's life. Or, if someone approaches it that way, then you truly have like a changed heart, a changed person, right? You don't know what caused them to turn around, but now they're not the same person that they were. Um,
100%. So I just wanted to say that because I didn't want people to think we should be letting murderers go free and all this stuff. We're
no,
just
no, no.
in the judgment case, like internally, we're not going to be trying to judge these people. Uh, yeah, and I
Right.
know you know that, but I'm just for
Yeah, no, no, yeah. Thanks for clarifying that.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
You want to go back
yeah,
to?
so there you go. That's the huh?
I was just going to say, should we go back to
Yeah, sure.
the verse? So we were saying basically the first part of it is just like the other last verse we broke down, except for
Yeah.
its function is not
The
exercised, but
the exhausted. Okay, and then the function is not exercised. Extreme fullness appears empty. What do you think about it's not exercised?
I think it's very
It's
similar
similar
topic,
to what
right?
we were just talking about.
And now when we're talking about fullness, extreme fullness, so somebody who is, we'll say, very highly enlightened or whatever, they might seem like they have nothing going on and they're empty inside because they're not really talking about a lot of things or they're not chattering and all this stuff. But the same thing is they haven't, you might not have witnessed their function yet, right? And extreme fullness is something that's like ready to go. So if you have something that's extremely full, like a bucket of water, you're about to dump on somebody, it's the same thing. It hasn't
It
exercised.
hasn't been used. Yes, it hasn't
Yeah,
been exercised.
exactly.
Yeah, I got it. That's a very good analogy. Thank you. Sometimes like really, really abstract concepts sometimes take me a minute and it's very helpful for me to have your perspective.
Don't feel bad because sometimes really simple things trip me up all the time. So it's just too simple. Like I'm good at simplifying things and making them simple for people, but when I come across simple things, sometimes I just skip right over them because I'm always
Yeah,
like
no, I get it.
or
I
whatever. Yeah.
get it. Yeah. All right, let's see. Great skill appears clumsy. Great eloquence appears stammering. I like this great eloquence like appears to be stammering because if if I get questioned about my worldview, let's say, or even sometimes when I'm on the show and we're talking, it's hard to put into words sometimes certain things. So I may sound like I'm not sure of what I'm saying. I may sound like I'm, looking for the word or I'm not sure. But that doesn't mean that just because I'm not being eloquent about it, um, doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just these topics and these really deep, esoteric, and spiritual topics are difficult to express because it's, I think Ram Dass talks about it about, and I don't remember which guy it is, but one of these, like, gurus or, great men that
Like
have
Ramana
been,
Maharshi or somebody.
yeah, like, yeah, maybe it was Ramana Maharshi who, said that he would get to the point where he's explaining what the seventh chakra is, or the
Oh,
seventh
the
something.
experience of like samadhi, like the different.
Yeah, his experience of samadhi. And he'd get to the, he'd be able to describe all of them. Then he'd get to the part where he was going to describe samadhi. And then it was just like, he would stop and he'd fall into his like whatever trance or sleep or whatever. And he couldn't express it. Then he'd come back and he'd be like, okay, where was I? And then he'd try to do it again. And he'd like, because it's inexpressible sometimes. It's like, you can't explain it. And so people may think you're crazy, you're retarded, you don't know how to speak, you don't have a rhetoric, it's like, okay, fine, accuse me of that. But it's not because I don't have it. It's just it's inexpressible. It's sometimes it's not even explainable at all.
And the one of the big differences too, this information that we talk about isn't really able to be explained in one way. That's why there are so many different religions and holy books and holy texts and ways, because people need to hear it a
Exactly.
certain way. And so if you're,
Different perspectives.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you're somebody who, like we were talking about earlier, who argues your points and you're into things that are very concrete and you can nail them down, like a good example would be like anarcho-capitalism, like libertarianism, or like I want to be an anarchist, but that kind of thing. You could state all these points, like, oh, the government means mind control, and like slavery, government is slavery, and you could have all these great talking points and facts. But when we're talking about spirituality and loving yourself and self-love and not judging people and everyone's perfect and all these things, it's hard because everybody, like you said, has their own point of view or frame of reference. So the words we're using hit them differently. We're using these words in a certain way, but by the time they get to their ears, they're like, oh, no, no, they have a different definition for God. They have a different definition
Mm-hmm.
for the words that we're using, like source or
Mm-hmm.
you know so that's why I feel like it's so hard to explain. And
Yes.
that's why they'll warn you too about all this stuff. You don't have to explain this to anybody,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But when people are interested and they come knocking, then you can talk to them, refer them to the Over Sharon show. We'll take care of them from there.
I mean, just listen to the show and we'll do our best.
I, I was
All right.
we'll just get them signed up for the Over Sharon. There'll be an Over Sharon night and they'll be fine. I don't have to worry about it. That's
We'll
something I
just
was
get
going to
them.
say earlier. Maybe I did say it too. I'm going to call you off, but quickly, it was that this kind of stuff, there's no way to just do one thing and then you're good. It's not like you could just give your heart over to Jesus and then you're good. Now we're good. Or get baptized. Now we're good. Or,
Once saved, always saved.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not like you just, it's like once a Marine, always a Marine. Like just because I was a Marine, if I don't exercise, I'll get fat and out of shape. You know what I mean? Just because I was a Marine before and I was in excellent shape. It's the same thing with this. It's a constant, you're working at it every day, but it does get, I think, better and easier as you go with the flow and you start to go with it. And I think that's a common misconception. Maybe that's a new age thing. It's just like the born again Christian thing on the other side. I'm saved. Now I don't have to worry about anything. It's like, no, every day that voice is in the back of your head telling you that you're not good enough to do this or that until you can gain a control on it. But it still might sneak in. And then that voice turns into, oh, look how good you're doing. You're great. Like everyone needs to travel the path that you traveled because it was the best one. And if they're not doing exactly what you're doing, then they're the devil and they're the evil one, and that this voice it really is the adversary, but I don't want to look at it in a adversarial way as it's a bad thing. It's more like an opponent and a sports game, right? It's a chess opponent. You're playing poker against yourself, or you're playing chess against this voice in your head. Every day you got to wake up and you got to be sharp, you know? So,
Mm, yeah, I like that view.
yeah, because it's such a common misconception. Oh, I'm enlightened now. Okay. I rose from the ashes. I'm a phoenix. Okay.
Spiritual ego.
What about tomorrow?
Splat.
What about when the refrigerator breaks?
Yeah. What are you going to
Right?
do then?
And if you could learn to laugh at these things like Sharon's laughing at it now, because that is kind of humorous. It's like first, well, it's not humorous what happened to her mom, but like the situation happens with her mom. Then she gets sick. Then she gets home and the refrigerator breaks. It's like, all right, now what? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's now that you say it that way, it's kind of like it was a moment to like, it was like a God moment of like, slow down, just stop what, stop what you think you're doing.
yeah, right.
Like you think you're doing, but you need to stop. You just need to
Yep.
stop. Let it go. Breathe, breathe. Let it go. Breathe some more and let it go some more.
Yeah. It's like a flat tire or a car breakdown or, the other day I was driving to the office to a wedding. I was going to go to the office first. It's like an hour drive and then get equipment. And the place I was going was like 15 minutes away. But lo and behold, somebody decided to cut a tree down on this main street. So they like block traffic on one side and then on the other, they're like taking turns, but they blocked it. I sat there for like 7 minutes. I was like, is this legal? But apparently I just said to myself, I'm like, all right, well, this must be happening for a reason. And it did, because when I showed up to the office, it was perfect time because there's people that were there and they were just about ready to leave. And if I got there earlier, it would have been a cluster, and they were able to help me do what I had to do really quick. So it's like, oh, okay. So what I did was I was in the van. I just sat there and tried like, all right, what can I do? Just hang out, looking around, trying to look at the numbers on the plates in front of me. And we had this car because yesterday we did a bunch of driving for Father's Day and stuff. And I think it was on the way down to see my parents. There was this car that kept just, because we go different roads to a highway and it was like going the same way we were. And it just kept getting in our way and all this stuff. It wasn't like doing anything on purpose. It was just, it seemed to be synchronistic. And I'm like, I got to look at the numbers on this plate. Like there's something this car is trying to tell me. And that's the mindset that I try to have instead of saying, what's this idiot doing? Like, get out of my way and getting all mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is the spiritual warfare, one little thing at a time. It's so mundane. It's not glamorous.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not going to be getting millions of views being like, guys, we got the secret. When you're in traffic, this is what you do.
Yeah.
There's nothing to sell you guys. That's our biggest letdown and disappointment for our audience. Sorry, we got nothing to sell you.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. That's the other thing too, is when people have something to sell, and I'm just like, okay. But
Anyway, yeah,
I like to think of those moments as moments to recognize that everything happens on time, just when it needs to happen. And these days, when I'm running late, I'm like, it's going to be okay. I'm going to be just perfectly on time. And I always am. Like it, it just works out. So,
yeah, like yesterday, we were running a little late to the restaurant and I had my work van and the plan was to go to the office first and get my car, but I was like, you know what, let's just go there first. It'll save us some time. We'll have some more time to hang out and get ready. So there's a parking a lot for employees or whatever in the back, and that's where I park when I load in. So I just parked the van there, and there happened to be an employee, a guy that worked there walking, and he had a Corn shirt, the band Corn, and we were just listening to Corn on the way down. So like, he wouldn't have been out there. He would have been inside working, but he just had to walk outside to get something right when we pulled in and we talked to him and he thought there was a DJ there. Like, sorry, no DJ today. Like you got to take
oh,
out.
that's funny.
I'm like, I could if you want to pay. I got all the stuff with me, but So it's just little nods like that. The universe is like, yeah, you're here on time because you were listening to Corn on the way down or whatever, and now you got a guy with a Corn shirt. It's like Corn with a K.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's funny how it works like that, and
Yeah.
it's same thing, right? You're running late. What's the mindset that we normally have? Shit, I'm gonna be late. What's gonna happen? You imagine all these scenarios in your head, but the mind frame that we're trying to work toward is, oh, I guess that's the time we're supposed to arrive. Maybe something was going to happen. Maybe the whole place was going to explode and I missed it, like, or
Maybe
whatever.
I was going to sit in the waiting room for 10 minutes and still be waiting anyway.
Or maybe I could have gotten in a car accident with somebody who was leaving and now they're already gone because I'm a few minutes late. So that's what we try to go for, right? And then the new age way to look at it would be like, oh, it doesn't matter when I arrive. If I'm late, fuck those people. It's all about me. And then you show up like an hour late. And that's the new age approach, right? It's a balance, man. It's the middle way. It's somewhere in the middle. All right. I think
All
we're,
right. We didn't finish Dwight Goddard.
yes. So the last part, right? Motion.
Yeah. So this is a little bit different. Motion conquers cold. Quietude conquers heat. What do you think about that? Motion conquers cold.
Well, I can say that I know when you're cold, they tell you to move around. Like if you're in the woods in a survival situation or whatever, you want to be moving
Mhm.
at the coldest times to keep yourself warm. So that could go for anything. You can use that cold. It doesn't have to be physically cold, but it could be in your life. If something's cold and you want to work on it, you need some motion there. But then if something's hot in your life, if it's too much, if you're experiencing it too much, you need to back away from it. You need to
Mm,
give it a little quietude in it. So
yeah.
it's kind of like that's how it works. Is it's opposite of what you would think, right? So if
Yeah.
if you wanted what was the thought? I gotta look at this verse again. Quietude conquers heat. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. All right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
And then
call.
not greatness, but purity and clearness are the world's standards. So it's not about striving to be great, it's striving to be pure and clear, and then you will be great. And then if you try to grab onto that being great, and then the purity and clearness is going to go away, right? It's like power. It's like
It's like
water falling into your hand. The minute you try to grab it, it's gone.
attachments.
You let it flow through you, right? Yeah. Attachments, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
Awesome. Okay. I guess we can move on to the next one.
Stan Rosenthal from 1984. In retrospect, even those accomplishments which seem perfect when accomplished may seem imperfect and ill-formed. Now, I love this because this reminds me of overthinking. So whenever you do something and you overthink the hell out of it afterwards, you're like, oh man, should I have said that? Did I do that right? A good example for me would be DJing a wedding. I could DJ a wedding and play the songs and do everything, and then at the end of the night or the next day or for weeks, I could be like, oh man, should I have done something else? Did I do that wrong or whatever? But what I didn't realize in the moment, it was great and it was perfect and everything was perfect. But then I get attached to the results of my action and how it
You
came
should have
out.
done it this way, or I should have done that, or I should have said this, or I should have said that.
Yep. And again, there's nothing wrong with learning from the past. That's how we learn from our mistakes. You go, all right, I made a mistake. This is what I'm going to do in the future. But it's the constant harping on it and overthinking it. And I think that's where you're screwing up because then you're not in the present moment and you don't see the opportunities available to you in that moment because you're so stuck in the past and you're afraid that you're going to recreate those mistakes.
Mm. Yes, for sure.
Alrighty, Rooney. Let me just want to check this text because I have that meeting coming up, so I want to make sure. Uh, da, 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 da. So let's go on to the next one. Sorry, everybody. Clap your hands, everybody. All right. Um, okay, so ill form we talked about, but this does not mean that such accomplishments have outlived their usefulness. That which once seemed full may later seem empty. yet still be unexhausted.
I think when you said, like, is it says, but this does not mean that such accomplishments have outlived their usefulness. Like when you were saying, like, you can think about the past as a way to adjust any things that you want to change next time something happens. You can use it. So it's still useful um to look back. But like you said, it's about not overthinking it and not dwelling on something as a mistake, but as a maybe as a stepping stone, as a lesson learned, as a, let me try doing something different next time.
I love it. Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. I wasn't even getting that too for some reason. I love it because you're right. It's still useful. Those things that happen are still useful as a guide to where you're going, but you know, don't get all tripped up on it. I
Yeah.
like it. All right. And then that it kind of goes along really with that which
Dwight
one's
Goddard.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Um
think that one was like kind of Dwight, like the Dwight Goddard one, because he says unexhausted.
and I feel like also the overarching message to these verses are looks can be deceiving. Right?
Hmm.
That's really it's like don't trust your eyes, right? Just like the whole Jedi thing with Luke or yeah, Luke and Obi-Wan. Don't your eyes may deceive you. That
Hmm.
which once seemed straight may seem twisted when seen once more. Intelligence can seem stupid and eloquence seem awkward. Now this part I that which seems straight may seem twisted when seen once more. And that's because we always are changing our perspective and our point of view, and no man is the same man
Hmm.
or a woman. We're always constantly evolving and changing. Hope.
Yeah.
And then this thing, intelligence can seem stupid and eloquence awkward. More of the inversions and what we were saying, kind of about 2020, right? And then I
Yeah.
like how it just has one little part,
Two
right?
lines. Yeah.
Movement may overcome the cold and stillness.
Heat.
I'm sorry, movement may overcome the cold and stillness heat, but stillness in movement is the way of the Tao. Doing,
Mm.
not doing.
Non-doing. Wu wei. Wei wu wei.
Yeah, I think he put it the best so far. His little last part.
Yeah. I like that bit. It's very concise and it's makes a lot of sense. Aleister Crowley entitles us The Overflowing of Day. Despise thy masterpieces, thus renew the vigor of thy creation. Deem thy fullness emptiness, and thus shall thy fullness never be empty. Let the straight appear crooked to thee, thy craft clumsiness, thy music discord. And in this one, he is talking about looking at yourself and looking at the things that you do, whereas the other ones are more like abstract. They're like extreme perfection seems imperfect, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But Aleister Crowley is like, look at your masterpieces like they're crap,
yeah. It's so
and thus
true.
renew the vigor of your creation.
I love that because it's so applicable. Like even just in stand up comedy, there's some comedians that do the same material. They've been doing it for years, over and over and over and over again. They have the same set that they do, like a 1 hour special or whatever. But then other comedians will try to do a new one every year or whatever because it gets stale and old to them. They constantly want to update it. So they hate what they're doing, right? So then they want to go on to the next one. And I feel like that's a great way to motivate because if you ever just do one thing, create one nice piece of art, think of like of a one hit wonder, right? Somebody makes one
Yeah.
song and it's huge. And then they
And
just
every time you go on a tour, everybody's
playing that
waiting to hear
song.
the one song.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They want to hear Ice Ice Baby. Come on, we want to hear Ice Ice Baby. Herman. Right. What's his name? Winkler.
or
Winkler.
or
but not
I
like,
ran by the flock of
yeah,
seagulls
yeah,
when I
yeah.
went to see them at the Ostrich Festival several years ago, whatever that was. Everybody was waiting for the I ran song, and then they played it last.
Oh yeah, yeah, you got to do that. I saw Salt and Peppa, and everyone was like waiting for Push It, even though they have a lot of other good songs. It was like at this DJ convention we had them. They had them there. Yeah. So I love it because it's so simple and so easy. And your fullness, look at it as emptiness. So he's like, don't be content, is basically what he's saying. He's like, don't be content in what you've done. There's always another day. There's always another show. My friend Patos is a comedian. He's like, no show, never one, not, he would always say, one show doesn't matter. It's always about the next show. How can you do better? Don't worry about the last show. It's always about,
Yeah.
you never made it. He's like, you're never like hilarious. I forgot how he would say it, but it's so true though, because people in whatever it is, they think they make it. I've even seen it with DJs. They have like a certain set and they just always follow it. And they're like, all right, this is my thing and this is what I want to do. And, they're not adapting or elevating their skill level.
Yeah.
Like,
The you talking about the that reminds me of like when I used to sing a lot, at church and stuff. Um we would have to practice with my sister who was playing the piano, and she would sit there and play the piano, and then my younger sister and I would sing and harmonize with each other and do that whole thing. And I would get kind of bored and tired because I didn't want to sing the song multiple times because I already know how to sing it and I don't need to sing it again the same exact way. I get bored and tired of it. So then I would start trying to change it up. I would start changing the melody a little bit to be a little different because I was like, I'm getting sick of singing it the same exact way every single time. Um, and that's how you renew the vigor of your creation because like the other day when I was singing karaoke at I think it was at my brother's house. I sang a song. It was probably like a Stevie Wonder song, but I sang it a little differently. Like I just changed the melody just a little bit. And he was like, "Oh, I like that. Like I like what you did there." And I just was like, I was kind of done singing it the way it's usually sung, so I kind of changed it up a little bit on the fly. And yeah, it turned out nice. He liked it. I was like, yeah, I kind of like it too. That was different. I like the different.
yeah, it's good to change things up. You get caught in the same patterns, right? Cycles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of
It says,
course, your sister practicing the piano wants to keep doing the same thing because the piano is all about like repetition, right?
yeah, and the thing is too, that's harder. So she needed more practice,
Yeah,
but we didn't need to sing it 100 times, you know?
exactly. Because the piano, it is all about repetition, right? You have to keep doing it with singing. I mean, once you get it down, I'm sure you got it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for me at least.
yeah. Amazing. All right.
So that last little bit,
Oh yeah, I'll put that back up on the screen.
how are you on time?
I got about 25 minutes till 3 o'clock. So we could always pause this episode and continue after my meeting because the meeting should be pretty short.
Okay.
They just want to meet me. It's not a planning meeting or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Um, so it says extreme straightness
Oh, wait,
appears
I gotta go down.
crooked. Oh, sorry. Oops.
How that happened.
Oh yeah, there we go. Um, yeah, so just quickly, the last little bit of that
Oh yeah,
top one was let the straight appear crooked to thee, which we already talked about the straightness and the crookedness, but this is in the perspective of your own from your own perspective, I should say.
yeah,
So I guess maybe this could be like allow your perspective to change. And if whatever someone says is straight, maybe, make it crooked a little bit in your mind and see if that changes your perspective in some way and allows you to see things differently. Um,
And I also, something I'm getting from that is don't be so full of yourself when you're doing something. Like if you are a performer or singer and you're up there and you're singing, you're not like, I'm killing it right now in your head. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, this is,
this is fun. I'm enjoying
yeah,
myself.
I'm
I'm having a
enjoying
good
myself, and
time.
this might not be exactly perfect. It might not be the best, but I'm doing it right. I'm just kind of going along.
Yeah.
Maybe a singer is the wrong analogy,
Well,
but yeah,
no, it is true because like I can when I do karaoke because I don't do it very often. And if I'm picking a new song, it's a new song. I've never done the karaoke song
uh,
before. Even if I know the song and I've heard the song many times, but I've it's not like I've ever done the karaoke before. So I don't know which version they're going to play. I don't know. I sometimes don't really know. So I just have to kind of go with the flow and see what happens. Um, and so I could mess up or whatever, but I just have to be like, whatever, it is what it is. Like, I've never sang this before. It might happen. I might not hit the right place or I might, sing on the wrong place spot or whatever.
and that's going to help you two ways because if you make a mistake, you're not going to be so hard on yourself. But if you do an amazing job consistently, and say you're like a professional or whatever. I mean, you are, but whatever it is, like your job, say you consistently you're doing a good job, and if in your head you just think you're perfect, then it's going to lead you to not actually be the best version of yourself because you think you're like, oh,
You're
I can
already
do no wrong, right? I'm
you're
perfect.
already perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
awesome. Thank you, Alistair, for those words of wisdom
Yes.
from beyond the grave.
Yes, posthumously published. Um, Thy craft clumsiness and thy music discord. So sorry to finish that off, but yeah.
Oh no, you're good.
So
I think
the
that
craft clumsiness is like kind of reminds me of the beginning with the despise thy masterpieces, you
yeah.
know. Consider your craft as clumsy. And it kind of goes along with the singing too. It's like I like singing and been singing since I was pretty much a baby. Um, but I don't sit here and do it every day and practice and practice and practice. I just I just do it when I like it, when I feel like it, when I want to. So it might be clumsy, it might just not come out exactly how I thought it was going to come out. But that's okay because I'm enjoying myself. I like to sing.
Yeah, that
So
that also just for even for like art, like when I'm drawing and stuff, I always sometimes or my perspective is like I try to be perfect with my lines, and if I mess it up, I'll get discouraged. And I'm like, oh shit, I screwed up. But I think the better way is to just kind of go with the flow, and if you screw up, or you,
use that as a way to
yeah,
like change it up a little, make it more creative.
exactly, and you just go with the flow because that piece of art is coming out of your unconscious somehow, right? So
Hmm.
maybe that was supposed to happen, and you
Yeah.
thought it's supposed to have a line there, but God was like, nope,
The
right?
lines the lines for here, not for there.
Yeah. So if you embrace that clumsiness, there's a lot less stress while you're trying to create that art, and you just go with it.
Yeah.
It's like over sharpening a blade. You could dull it. Right. I think that was what the Tao said earlier too. You over sharpen a blade and you dull it.
And thy music discord.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's all right. I'm the one who's I should be sorry. Well, if you think of Discord, what is it? It's just like a bunch of sound and a bunch
Yeah,
of
discordant sounds that don't belong together and don't sound well together.
so inside you're kind of creating from the chaos, I guess you could say. You just are going with it instead of sticking to a strict adherent beat. Like you'd have a song, this song is 128 BPMs. It's always going to go boom, 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 boom. It's not like that inside. You're just going with it because if you try to maintain this beat, what if something comes up and it's trying to fight
And
against
you
it?
have to change something. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're over here struggling against the your perfect beat that you thought you had, and it's getting messed up. But if you just kind of embrace it and go with it, I feel like that's what all these are saying. Just kind of embrace it.
And it's like jazz, you know?
Yeah.
Jazz kind of like sometimes veers off a little bit, and the instruments may sound like they're all doing different things, but they're actually doing stuff together. um there's some jazz that's a bit much for me. I'm like, that's a little bit far, but hey, some people like it. I like my music not so discordant.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
But I still love jazz. But yeah.
Well, that's what because discordant music just makes you feel uncomfortable and unpleasant, right? It just like when the beats are, you're just like, what's going on? I know,
It's
especially at
off.
the DJ,
Something's
like
off.
if someone's
Something
trying to
sounds
mix
like it's out of tune. You're like, what was that?
or if someone's trying to mix two songs together, but the beat's off, so you get this, like, oh man. But internally, though, I think this is telling you to be okay with that situation.
Yes,
You want to be comfortable in the turbulence.
absolutely. Yes, indeed. Yes, I love that. Uncomfortable in the turbulence. Speaking of, when you're flying and you encounter the turbulence, like some people flip out, they're just like, that's scary to them. But somehow I've never been afraid of the turbulence. It's just, I mean, I'm like, pilots know what to do. They encounter turbulence all the time. So you just relax into it. Easier way, and just like let it go, let it happen, and it'll be okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
They're just bumps in the sky.
Bumps on the road in the
And
wind.
yeah, bumps in the wind. Yeah, 100%. When you're taking off and landing, those are the scary times too. And those are the times where you could think about all the terrible things that could happen and have happened. Or you could just focus on the moment, take some deep breaths and be like, you know what, everything.
Think about it like a roller coaster,
Yeah,
and like feel that like rush, and it's like a cool feeling.
lovely.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish up this last. And then I think what we could do is finish this up.
Yeah.
I'll pause the recording and then
Yeah.
I'll get you back over. And then everybody that's listening, just ignore what we just said because we're pre-recording this. You don't have to worry about that. We'll still be here the whole time. We're not really going anywhere for you guys. All right. Oh, I was highlighting it, but I didn't put it on the screen. So the last part here, this is
E-
confusing.
exercise exercise moderates cold. I'm just going to use
Yeah, there you
an
go.
easier word. Exercise moderates cold, stillness moderates heat. To be pure and to keep silence is the true law of all that are beneath heaven.
You know what I love?
What?
Oh, excuse me, everybody. He says to be pure and to keep silence is the true
Hmm.
law. So,
Yeah, others use the word stillness, right?
yep.
And clearness, but he uses silence.
And it reminds me of those who know don't talk.
Yes.
Those who talk don't know. And also, silence is golden.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like he's not telling you to be a quiet person for the rest of your life. But what I think he's saying is to listen to what the universe is trying to tell you. That's where the silence is the true void.
Be a better
When
listener.
silence is when God can speak to you, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and and
It
to
reminds, go ahead.
and I feel like pure is important because if you're pure and silent, then you could properly interpret this message that you're getting in the silence.
Yes, because of out of the purity, you're not going to have these negatively bent thoughts about it. You're going to, it's going to be from a like a clearness and a pureness of heart. that you interpret what the message is that's coming through from God or
And that could
whatever you.
be, oh yeah, the universe, right? And that could be as simple as being pure could just be as simple as looking at the information you're getting in an objective way. Because if you're, that's what it could mean. Because if you're not pure, like you were just saying, you could get this information and I guess really being pure would be to have a service to others mindset in the way we talk about the law of one, you know, through self love, truly loving others, then you don't have any expectations of what's going on. So you can be quiet and then have expectations of what's going to happen, but you're not being pure. So you could be like, all right, I'm going to be quiet and I'm hoping this is going to happen. And then it doesn't happen and it blows your whole scene. It ruins your day because you weren't pure. You weren't open to the true message of spirit. And, kind of from that service to others view, you had more of a service to self view and things didn't work out the way you wanted to. And so you got this message from God or the universe or whatever, and you weren't able to use it to its highest potential, we'll say. But again, there's nothing wrong with that because you can always try again tomorrow.
Yeah, and it makes me think of the like pureness makes me think of like a clean slate, like
Uh,
meditation when
no
you're like, you know what?
expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. And like in meditation, when, guided meditations will say something like, imagine that your thoughts are like clouds in the sky and they're just passing by. Or some may say, imagine that all the thoughts you have and the things that you're trying to, plan to do or whatever, and all these thoughts, put them in a little suitcase and close it up and tell them you'll be back after your meditation's done. You can open them up and be back afterward. And that's what that reminds me of, kind of like clean up the table, to clean up your desk or whatever from all the clutter. And then you can think. At least an ENTJ like that, like me, needs that kind of clarity before
Yeah,
I can
for proceed.
before I can proceed. Yeah.
No, that
And
makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
yeah, I was just gonna you can go ahead. I was gonna say something else about being quiet, but go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's a great interpretation because that's really people say pure. Oh, what does that mean? I got to be a do-gooder and I got to, no, it's just to have no expectations. Keep your mind pure in that way. It doesn't mean you can't have thought experiments of things and all this stuff, but it's more about the expectation part of it. If you just stay
Mm-hmm.
open and don't worry about expectations. And then what does he say at the end of the verse? Uh, the true law of all beneath heaven, right? So it's to be pure and keep silence is the true law of all that are beneath heaven. So
Yeah,
go
all
ahead.
of us. And just one more thought on the keeping silence. Um, it's not that you have to be quiet and silent all the time, but in the moments when it's important for you to, take some time, there are people out there who, and it happens. Sometimes I'm like in the mood of listening to music or listening to something or, listening to an audiobook or whatever. Um, but there are times when it's okay to be quiet and silent and um it's okay not to have noise and to have background. Like some people feel like they need all that noise, and in some ways I think that's another like escapism type of thing, because they're not allowing themselves to be present with themselves. They're allowing other things to interrupt their quiet time, their me time, um, their opportunity to look within.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. And I would even go further and say the quietude, if you were going to apply it to just internal, you could stay quiet inside even while you're talking, because you could have self doubts about what you're saying, or you could get ahead of yourself in your own head in that way. Or when you're listening too, you could be trying to figure out what you're going to say next to the person instead of listening to what they're saying. But if you're quiet and you accept it and you have no expectations about what they're going to say, it makes for a better, clearer conversation and also a better podcast too. So anyone who's out there as a podcaster, it's a huge thing to try to listen to what the other person is saying instead of trying to think of what you're going to say next. Because I feel like what happens is people, they get nervous, especially on podcasts, and they're like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to when my time comes, I have to be able to talk. But what people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize is when it is your time to talk, if you have been just listening and quiet the whole time and you're not,
It'll happen naturally.
it'll come out and flow naturally. Exactly. And you won't be worried because that's just fear. You're
Mm-hmm.
succumbing to fear by doing that. So yeah, same kind of thing. Just remain quiet and open with no expectations.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right. So that's verse 45. Right.
And we will do verse 46.
All right. And we will go on to verse 46. And all right, everybody. That was part one where we covered verse 45 of the Tao. What happened was we took a quick break so I can have a quick meeting. And then we recorded the rest of the episode, but I ended up going up over like an hour and a half. So we decided to cut them in half. So this is part one. Stay tuned next week for part two, where we cover verse 46 of the Tao. So look for that. And until then, keep over sharing, everybody. Thank you.